up. One moment at all. Right, I hope you can all see that now. Again, big welcome. Thank you for attending. We have got a mixture of employers in here today. Those who have already registered, and obviously we're waiting for the next steps. We may have invited a lot of employers back to a webinar we'd previously invited them to, but we hadn't received their selected choices, which you'll hear a bit more about later on. And we may have a few new employers on here that are new to Kickstart and haven't registered yet. So I will go over a quick recap of Kickstart, and we will make it very brief. So you're not sitting here for an hour going through everything about Kickstart again, but just the main points. And again, then where we go now with the next steps and what we need to prepare. Okay, so let's start then. Martin, if you can start the presentation going. Okay, so Kickstart, it is a £2 billion scheme, part of the plan for jobs that Rishi Sunak announced back in July. The application process went live from the 2nd of September. And obviously now we are starting to see rollouts of people starting their vacancies and their work experience placements. It is to target employers, big, small, national and local, and they are encouraging employers to create as many work experience placements as possible to give 16 to 24-year-olds valuable work experience. They do have to be new jobs, so they cannot be jobs that you have already got people in place, and they cannot be to replace existing members of staff. So you've got to create these placements purely for work experience placements for the Kickstart scheme. Okay. Wages for the 6 months will be covered to cover 25 hours per week of national minimum wage, pension contribution and any NI contribution also. Those are getting paid in monthly arrears, so that has somewhat changed. They were talking of a quarterly payment, then a bi-monthly payment, and we can confirm it is now definitely a month in arrears payments. There is also a £1,500 setup and employability fund available to each placement that you create. And there is no limitation on the number of placements. Now, what that means is you can apply, obviously, if you're coming through a gateway, you can apply for 30 or less, or you can apply for 30. Once your first set of applications have gone through and have been approved, then you are in a position to reapply for more vacancies if you wish. Registering for the scheme via our website. So for those who haven't already, hopefully once you've watched the presentation today, then you can go onto our website and obviously register your interest or register your vacancies for approval via our website. Okay, Mark. So just an update for those that have already applied with us. We are conducting our own internal due diligence checks on the submitted applications, and they are based on the Kickstart Approval Board's criteria. So we know that those without queries we have processed and we have submitted to the Kickstart Approval Board, and we are awaiting any feedback on the approval process. They have said it could have been up to an 8-week delay. We are kind of waiting for a few that are at around that time, and obviously they're now trying to reduce the waiting time for that approval process. The DWP, just for the West Midlands alone, I was on a webinar last week. They have had to take on over 300 staff to cope with the demand of the approval applications that are coming in. Okay, so when we carry out our internal due diligence checks, if we are rejecting placements if they don't meet the due diligence checks, and obviously we would contact you, therefore, once we've received your application to inform you of that. It may be that there is a small number of applications with outstanding queries, so we may have to come back to you, or already have come back to you to gain that further detail we needed. Kickstart scheme terms and conditions have now been published, so if you haven't already got them, obviously there is a link here for you to download the Kickstart terms, or you can obviously just drop me a message and I'll make sure they go out to you. I have tried where possible since they have come out to try and get them out to employers so you can see them as well. Okay, Martin, if we want to move on. Okay, Kickstart update on just the payment side. So as I mentioned when I kind of spoke about what we're going to discuss today, the payments have changed. We can confirm they are now paid in monthly arrears. The first payment, obviously, you will see from the screen is the £1,500 setup, employability and recruitment funds. So that will, as you will see, so DWP, this is a slide from the DWP, on confirmation to the DWP's satisfaction that the participant has started employment with the employer. So as soon as we can prove that that young person has started the placement, the £1,500 will be triggered and paid. Obviously, the second payment you will receive will be obviously the first month's wages. As I said, that will be confirmed and triggered via your HMRC. So you must ensure that as soon as the young person starts, they are entered onto your payroll system, because that will trigger. They will check at the end of each month that obviously you have paid that individual, and if the payments have gone out and it's all gone through HMRC, then they will trigger obviously the monthly payments. All payments do come through to the gateway provider, and the gateway provider will then pay the employer. So on approval of the vacancies, before we start the whole recruitment process, you will complete, no doubt, a grant agreement, and obviously a formal document just explaining the payments. Okay, Martin? Until any placements are approved, employers cannot advertise placements, cannot interview potential applicants, cannot employ or commence placements, and definitely we cannot backdate any placements or applications. At this stage, we cannot guarantee that the placements will not be rejected. We have had quite a few queries regarding people that have already found the right person. They may have somebody that their family that's interested, and they're kind of really eager to get this started. And what we will say is, unfortunately, unless we follow the DWP process, then we can't guarantee the funding. They will certainly not backdate anything, because, as I said, they will have to approve the vacancies, and the people that are applying must be referred via their work coaches. So it's fine if you've got people who are interested, or you know that somebody who would be interested to apply, that's absolutely fine. But what you must do is you must send them back to their work coaches at the job centre and ask them to apply, to be referred for it that way. Okay. So rejected applications. We have been contacted recently by businesses that have applied directly on the government website. So if they have had 30 vacancies or more, they can apply directly on the government website. And there has been quite a lot that have been unsuccessful. So they have had rejections. Now, what they will do when they reject a application is they will not state exactly what reason it is for, but they will state that the criteria used to assess all applications is as follows, and that they haven't met one of the criteria. So the criteria, as I said, used to assess is that the job placements are additional and they do not replace existing or previously planned vacancies, that they have got enough suitable employability support within that application, that you have provided accurate information, so your company's house details, your number of staff, and obviously the sufficient track record of fiscal competence. They will also look at the sufficient size and structure of the organisation to ensure that you've got enough staff to cover the supporting of that individual, the training and the developing that would need to take place within that 6 months placement. So if you have only got 2 members of staff, then no doubt, if you were asking me for 30 vacancies, we would kind of be rejecting based on the sufficient size and structure of the organisation. Now, if you are applying directly via the government website, just on the size of the organisation, so if you are an employer that's applying directly via the government website, I believe they are using a ratio of 3 to 1. So as long as you've got 3 members of staff, you could have 1 Kickstart vacancy. Now, that's not the case when we are looking at gateway applications. Obviously, they are understanding that these are going to be SMEs that are who want to be part of the Kickstart scheme also. So I believe they are using a kind of 1-to-1 ratio for the gateway providers. So as long as you've got a member of staff that can offer that mentoring, support and development, then obviously you could have a vacancy. But again, all applications can be, we can add additional details in. So if you feel you've got other things that would affect the decision on the size of your organisation and how many vacancies, then obviously please send that in to us and we will submit that with the application. With the companies that have been rejected, they obviously are now coming back to us so we can support them to get their vacancies approved. So we will go through their application, their first time application, to see kind of where we think it may have gone wrong. They can also obviously come with us as a gateway provider, so we can offer that level of support, help with the application and help with any other part of the application that was rejected. So if it was, for instance, the employability support that's going to be given, we could obviously step in and now obviously put our stance on that and what we plan to do for them. So we are now supporting them to go back through the application process. Okay, Martin? The next steps of the process. So for those that haven't registered their details yet, but obviously have attended webinars or have recently received copies of presentations that I've sent to you, then please do go on and register your details at pathwaygroup.co.uk/kickstart. For those that have obviously registered the details, if we've not come back to you to say we've rejected your application form, then obviously we are in the waiting stage of the approvals coming through. As I said previously, the DWP have had to put additional staff onto the approval process because they have been bombarded with applications. So in the meantime, what we're trying to do now is obviously discuss the next steps and what we need to do to prepare. So with the £1,500 setup cost employability funds, I just want to explain what they're there for. And obviously, when it comes around to any audits that may take place in the future, it will probably be on the employability and how the support has been done and how it's been reviewed, etc. So the £1,500 setup costs and employability funds are there to cover any setup costs you may have, as in DBS checks, equipment, PPE, etc. It will also cover recruitment and selection, and it will cover employability training and wraparound support. So the support of the young people to become more employable, which was the whole emphasis of the programme and the scheme, why it was developed. You can outsource elements of the above to your Kickstart gateway provider or external agencies. Sorry, I thought I was going to cough then. Or external agencies. If you do that, you will then have to agree how the funds will be shared. So the proportion of the element you're going to outsource would come out of that £1,500, okay? Or you can opt to deliver everything yourself, but you will have to evidence your minimal offer and delivery model for the employability, okay? Pathway Group have put together support packages as a gateway provider that you can choose to take up if you wish. Okay, if we move on, Martin. So recruiting and selecting, you will obviously have to create job specifications or job descriptions that will be sent to the DWP upon approval. The work coaches at the job centres will use those obviously to match suitable candidates for your job placements. Once they have matched the job placements, they will obviously refer all the suitable candidates either to yourself or the gateway provider if you've chosen for the recruitment side of things. You will then be able to obviously arrange the interviews and interview the candidates. You will select the best suited person for the role. So it doesn't matter how many they send you, you will have the overall say on who you select, even if you choose the gateway provider to assist with the recruitment and selection. The employability training and wraparound support. So what you have to consider, especially if you are thinking you could probably deliver this yourself, is what support will be offered, when they will provide you this support. So obviously how often you are going to do this over the 6-month period, how many hours will it take, how will you provide the support, how the young person can provide feedback during their placement and afterwards, and how this will be acted on. You've also then got to consider the next step. So what will happen after the vacancy if there is no job there for that young person? How will you obviously implement them, looking and helping them apply for jobs elsewhere? Okay, Martin. So Pathway Group, we are a gateway provider, and aside from all the funding that you've obviously heard about today, the £1,500 plus the 6 months wages, we as a gateway provider receive £300 per placement. So for administering the application and obviously for paying the both setup costs and the monthly wages out to employers. So that's what we get for our services. For those we have submitted Kickstart applications on behalf of now, what we need to do is understand the level of support you require moving forward. And that was kind of the idea of pulling you all together today so we can kind of discuss what the options are, and then we want you to complete a form to choose your option, basically. So as mentioned, we have developed Kickstart services and support packages for employers. We are putting you in the driving seat so you can select the level of support you require. Obviously, whatever option you go with, we will support you through the process. We will obviously have to maintain quality checks on your delivery model, your packages, obviously, or obviously keep a quality check on what we're doing throughout. The packages that we have put together kind of they do include recruitment and employability training. So Martin, if you could just go on to the next slide for me. So if you were to choose our offer of service for recruitment, what we would be doing is reviewing and amending job descriptions and specifications. So we're going to try and make those job specs attractive. There is going to be thousands of vacancies out there, so we want to make yours appealing. We would be helping to search for the right candidates. So we are at the moment collating a pool of people who may be interested, and although we cannot tell them to apply directly, we can inform them that there are vacancies out there within their areas, and these are the job specs, and go and speak with your work coaches. So we are collating a pool, but they will be sent back to their job centres and their work coaches to be referred, so we can ensure they are following the right process. We would be advertising the jobs placements across a variety of platforms, again, with all the information that they must go back to their work coaches to apply. We would help with screening and shortlisting candidates, so making sure they have matched your requirements, and we would arrange any interviews you would need. We could also conduct the DBS checks on your behalf, and we could assist with preparing contracts of employment. Okay, Martin, if we go on to the employability. So employability skills, if you were to choose this service or option, then obviously we will be creating individual action plans for each individual. We would offer mentoring and support throughout the whole scheme. We would conduct progress reviews, so we're going to carry out monthly reviews on what skills that individual has been taught, what they have gained so far throughout the placement, and obviously are they on track with their action plan. We would also assist with CV writing, job searching skills, job application skills, career and goal setting, interview techniques, ensure obviously they're aware of their safeguarding, equality and diversity, and health and safety. And we can also throw in some accredited sector-specific training courses. I have got a couple of slides coming, following on from this one here, give you just some examples of the types of training that we could offer, and there is many more to go with them. On top of that, once we would manage the placement progressions and the next steps. So as I think I mentioned earlier, if you get to the end of the vacancy and unfortunately you're not in a position to offer those young people a job, we would obviously then help them with job searching for anything else there. We would look at the local labour market to see what jobs are around in the area and help them and assist them, whether it would be to move on to traineeships, apprenticeships or full-time jobs. If we could just go over to the next slide, Martin, these are, as I said, just some added value basically to the employability packages. As I said, we are a training provider, so we have got multiple courses we could add into this to make it even better opportunity for that young person. As you will see, some of these are around the care industry, some of them are on counselling and customer service, Some of them are around digital skills. We have got cleaning courses, we've got caring for young people, business improvement techniques, business admin, and behaviour that challenges. If we can go on to the next one, Martin, just so I can just show the variety of training courses we've got. So as you will see now, we can look at kind of warehousing, team leading, tenant support for housing, personal care, exercise, first aid, food hygiene and fire safety, manual handling and end of life. So there really is a good range of courses, and as I said, we've only put a few on there for you to have a look at right now, and we would then discuss obviously at the time with the young person and yourselves which are the best suited. So Martin, if you go on to the next slide for me. Example of kind of what the package would look like if you chose us for that employability side of things. So say, for instance, it was a hospitality assistant vacancy you have created. We could obviously offer the employability package that I've spoke about previously, as well as obviously then offering food hygiene certificates, customer service for hospitality, a first aid course, fire safety, to build up those skills, qualifications, again, just to make sure that young person's got every tick in the box to help them kind of move forward in life. All of the courses can be delivered online, allowing users to learn safely at their workplace or from the comfort of their own home. So if they are working from home throughout their work experience placement, everything we're offered can be covered. Okay, Martin? So these are the options. In a nutshell, we have excused the fact that it goes option 1 to 4 and then 2 and 3. It's just the way the form has been designed that you will complete for me a little later on. So if you was to select option 1, then you are opting for pathway group to complete everything from the recruitment and selection right the way through to the employability training and obviously the progressions at the end. So if you selected pathway group for those option 1, then obviously we would keep the £1,500. If you chose option 4, so you feel you are in a position, you have got the resources and the competency to obviously cover the recruitment selection and the employability training, then you would keep all of the £1,500. If you will go for option 2 and you conduct the recruitment and selection, so you are happy to take all the referrals from the job centres, from all the work coaches, you would arrange all your own interviews, you would do all your own screening, and obviously you would select. So if you're happy to do the recruitment, then obviously you would keep £1,000 out of that 1,500. If you wanted to take pathway group up on the offer of our employability package, we would then keep 500 out of your £1,500. And option 3 would be exactly the same, but the opposite way round. So we would conduct your recruitment and selection, and you would deliver the employability package. So we've tried to, as I said, give you options where what still leaves you in the driver's seat to how much level of support you require. The £1,500, as mentioned earlier, is paid and triggered from the offset, so as soon as they have started. What we need to do today, as I said, is determine what your options will be, so we can then start planning and preparing. If you choose an option where obviously some of that £1,500 stays with pathway group, then obviously when that payment is made, it will be deducted from the £1,500 at the beginning. Okay. As I said, the choice is totally yours. If you wish to take the lead on recruitment, that's great. And we are actively encouraging employers to kind of conduct their own recruitment and selection. Our advice is, as I said, don't try and do everything yourself. We are experts in employability. We are a training provider, a national training provider that have delivered training to unemployed people and unemployed people for over 20 years. So that's where our expertise lie. This is the bit that we are going to have to evidence from an audit point of view moving forward. So again, we're just encouraging employers to consider our options for the employability package. This is an opportunity for you to make a positive impact on a young person's lives by setting them up for future success. So just bear that in mind when you are obviously looking at choosing your options. Martin, if we can move on. Okay, so in readiness for the approvals to come through, you need to complete the Kickstart Scheme Gateway Services form. So all it will be is those 4 options you've just seen on the previous screen, worded, so how much of that £1,500 you are going to retain. And you will do that by either clicking on the green button you can see right now at the bottom of your screen, which says Pathway Gateway Services form. Or you can do it later on and you can type in or copy and paste. Martin, if we could just pop that https bit.ly into the group chat, so therefore people can just copy and paste and obviously save it and complete it at a later date. Once we have received obviously all of your selected choices, we can then obviously contact you separately. So for everybody who's going down the recruitment and selection, we will obviously contact you with the next steps, what we need to have off you, when we need to receive your job specifications, etc. Obviously, for those who are those who have chose options that they want to do everything themselves, then obviously we will send you out obviously what we need you to evidence, or what we'll need you to have in place, and a plan of what you are planning to deliver and how you're going to deliver it. So as soon as we get these back, we will then contact you separately, depending upon what choice you have made. I cannot stress the importance of completing this form for us as soon as possible. We can't really make the decisions on where we go any further until we know what your choices are, so we can plan. I said, if we are going to be doing certain elements of this for you, then we need to ensure we've got the resources in place and staffing, etc. So yes, please do go on and complete this form. Quite a lot of you have been invited back from a previous webinar because we still haven't had this form completed. So what we will do is continue to invite you to webinars on the next steps until we get these forms kind of coming back to us. Okay. And that takes us to the end of the next steps webinar. Hope I've seen this chat bar full, so hopefully we've got some questions. Well, hopefully I've answered everything for you, but let's see. Martin, are you in the chat? Okay, my presentation's gone. It is just me. Martin, are you jumping on for the chat? Sorry, everybody, I didn't introduce Martin. He's our he set the webinars up for me, but his mic's been playing up, so when he does speak, people can't hear him. So let's see if I can go through these. So love to see a bit of networking going on here, guys. Okay, so I'm a beauty salon hoping to bring back somebody that I made redundant in September. So again, we would kind of, if we could, Cheryl, if you could kind of get that over on an email to me, then what we will do is obviously go back to them and, as I said, support that as part of the application. They do tend to come back to us after around a 4-week mark just to say, right, yes, we are working on your application. It's gone to the next step. Is there any changes? So we could ensure that we've got that in place. But again, I would recommend, as soon as you've got that vacancy approved, ask that young person to go and see their work coaches and be referred to it. They can explain at the time, as I said, they have been made redundant with a certain current situation, so I can't see that being a problem. It's not like you've just made her redundant last week to ensure that she can come back on as a Kickstarter. Hi, this is people just introducing themselves. Quite a lot of networking going on. How do we check on the stage of our application? Right, unfortunately, we cannot chase the DWP. They will give us no notifications on what stages the application forms are at. As I said, we have had notifications that so many have gone through and it's kind of gone through to the next stage. So It is a waiting game, unfortunately. And again, Rob, I don't know where you are based around the country, but if it is within the West Midlands, as I said, I have had a very recent update to say that they are hoping to get the approval time down. And they've identified they're needing more staff on the approval process. But again, just message me individually. My email, obviously, we will put into the group as well. If anybody's got any questions, just drop me an email. If there is anything, obviously, I will come back to you. But we are kind of in the same position. And there are a lot of other gateway providers out there that are kind of eagerly anticipating these approvals to come through. I have had a few contact me over the last couple of weeks just to check we are kind of at the same stages. Just to give you an indication, I think the West Midlands had completed 25 vacancies had been approved and people had started. So although Rishi Sunak announced last week that there were 19,000 people into work placements now, just from the West Midlands alone, there are actually only 25. So so they may be, as you said, the big organisations that have applied directly themselves via the government website in the very beginning. So let's see if we can see any more. Yeah, for those, if we haven't contacted you directly after the approval, then it looks like obviously the due diligence has gone through and your applications will have been submitted. Okay, so I've registered 3 weeks ago with Pathway Group. I haven't been contacted yet to go through the training choices. I've been calling and sending emails, but still nothing. Mohammed, that does seem very strange. As I said, I do have a list of missed calls most days, but I do get down them all. So please just drop me an email. You wouldn't have been contacted about the training choices because you were invited to today's webinar to go through it all. We have had a large volume of employers obviously contact us. The easiest way, rather than spend half an hour to an hour on the phone with every single individual, we are kind of broadcasting out on a webinar like this so we can go through the choices with you and then we can get your feedback. So that's the reason you haven't obviously been asked for your choices up until this point, so we could kind of do it on a bigger scale. How long does it take? I complete an online application probably around about 6 weeks ago. Cheryl, as I said, we are very conscious that some of the vacancies that we have submitted has been around between that 6 to 8 week time. Initially 6 weeks ago, the time scale was 6 to 8 weeks for approval. So no doubt they are getting down those batches, but they will be more efficient moving forward, no doubt, especially if they've taken on more staff. So yes, no, Penny, we don't get any emails to say they are with the approval board. Our turnaround is very quick for submitting applications. So unless we've come across problems with your application initially, we would have come back to you. If we haven't, then the chances are that it is sitting with the approval board. We are not in a position where we're having to wait. I know there's a lot of gateway providers out there who are kind of waiting to try and fill 30 spaces before they can apply. Fortunately for us, that is not the case. So we are turning them around generally within a day. So again, we will just sit and anticipate those approvals coming through. I received an email confirming my application was submitted. So it may have just been that we're thanking you for obviously submitting your vacancies, and that email probably would have said, unless you receive a telephone call back, then obviously it will be processed along with the rest. Sorry, there's a question about this. Do you think there is likelihood? I'm not sure what that's referring to. And we are happy if anybody's got any questions they want to ask personally rather than put it in the group chat or have them answered here today, please do drop us a email. We have got a Kickstart email, so it is kickstart@pathwaygroup.co.uk, and obviously one of the team will certainly respond to all your questions. So yes, for Chris, who attended slightly late, we administer all payroll. So initially they were talking about obviously directly paying each employer. I think due to the volume of applications they have received, that is now going to the gateway provider. So they will only have to send to the gateway provider, and the gateway provider will then pay each employer. But as mentioned, once your vacancy is approved, before we start the whole recruitment process, you will complete a grant agreement form. So there will be a formal document. And as I said, there is Kickstart terms and conditions now also available for you all to read. Sorry, I'm just trying to work through all these conversations. Right, so how does recruitment work? Do they still have to come via the Jobcentre? Yes, Rob, they do. DWP are completely leading this project on behalf of the government, and unless we follow the DWP's process, then the funding will not be guaranteed. So we can get the vacancy approved. As I said, if you've got anybody you know personally that is interested in applying, I'll welcome you to speak with people and tell everybody about the vacancies and that you are working and you have got Kickstart vacancies out there, but you must tell them they have got to go back to their work coach to be referred. They have got to refer via that route, else they won't guarantee the funding. So I'm the sole employee of the company. How many people would I be able to take on through this scheme? So again, Steve, we would have to kind of, we will have looked at that. And again, they are talking possibly a one-to-one. And that is purely to ensure that young individual can get all the help, support, development and mentoring they need. But again, if you've applied for more, we may have obviously put it through to see what they come back with additional details in there. Cheryl, can you supply criteria for recruitment costs? Oh, it's moving too quickly for me. Can you supply criteria for recruitment services? Yes, so basically what we'll do, Victor, depending on obviously what choices you have made, if you have chose to go directly and do it all yourself, then obviously we will send you out copies of what you will need to ensure that is in place. So for the recruitment and selection services, obviously it is more so about you administering the liaison between the DWP and yourself for setting up, arranging interviews. From the employability side, that's the bit that's a little bit more in depth about how you're going to support them, what you're putting in place, when you're doing it, and what you're going to do with them after the vacancy. So whatever option you choose, I said, if you choose Pathway Group's offer of services for the recruitment or the employability, it will be taken out of the £1,500 in the offset, and you would get paid the difference. So if you've chose the employability, we would then pay you the £1,000 and we will retain the 500. If you choose all, then we would send you obviously all the 1,500. Yes, the form can be sent separately for you to complete. Obviously, we are trying to get you to complete it in one go, so we don't miss everybody. You would be surprised at the volume of employers that are coming through. So for us to keep a track of absolutely every single one, we will do that. We will obviously go through to ensure we have got everybody's choices, but we're hoping that you will click the form today, or again, go back onto the webinar at a later date and obviously complete that, the bit.ly link. So do you think we would not be challenged for age discrimination and advertising the age band applicant specifications? We can advertise for 16 to 24s because that's what the scheme is all around. I don't feel we would be able to put any other ages onto those applications unless it was for a specific job that obviously a 16 or 17-year-old is not allowed to do. So driving, for instance, maybe. again, we'll look at them on an individual case-by-case basis, I would believe. Again, if you are providing and everything can be done online, what we'd need to do is just send me an email with kind of if there's an issue with the infrastructure of the organisation and you feel you've probably applied for too many vacancies, then again, just drop me a little email. It may be that we've tried to put them through. As I said, they're not saying it's a definite yes or no to kind of, or you can only have one if you've got one employer. They're looking at it kind of individually, and if we can back it up with if you've got additional support, or if you have got kind of 0 hours people that are not classed as your full-time employers, or you've got any self-employed people that work with you can assist, then again we can put it all into the application process and additional information. They're not very, as I said, not very clear on the exact. We know that they are working on a 3-to-1 ratio if you apply directly, but we can only, it's all about the support. It's all about being realistic on how you can support that young individual. But if you feel you've got information that we could add to support that, then please send us. I mean, support to continue career as teachers. Sorry, if you could just email me separately, or we could pick up a conversation. I'm a bit lost on kind of what that is. Okay, so I think after the 6 months, can they go on to get a career as teachers? Absolutely. If you feel you can help them and support them, then obviously that would be kind of what you're going to do on that employability for the next steps. But I think what the DWP are looking for is just to ensure that you're not just going to let the placement finish, shake the hand, bye, see you later, and best of luck. They're looking to see what we can kind of, how we can help them get onto other employment. Right, I think that is everybody, all the questions in the chat bar. Let me just look at the ask questions. Okay, so sole trader, can I recruit employees under the Kickstart scheme? Jason, unfortunately, I don't think they are looking at sole traders yet. They are obviously looking at companies' house details. They are looking at the kind of year's accounts, unless you've got kind of linked companies as well. So, but again, just email me separately if you can, so we can try and pick that up later with you. Is there any other questions coming in from anybody? Okay, hopefully most of you will have gone on and completed the Gateway Services form. If you haven't, can I please ask that you do it as soon as possible, else your inbox might be full with future invitations calling you back to the same webinar to get you to complete it at a later date. Brilliant. I'm getting some people have applied, people have completed, which is fantastic. Right, is there any other questions? And what happens if the candidate leaves after a month or so? Good question, Steve. If the candidate leaves and there is no fault of your own as the employer, then you would be in no position to pay any monies back. Obviously, the wages would stop coming if you're not paying them via your HMRC. If for whatever reason, Steve, then if an employer was to stop the placement after a month, then they may be liable to pay back the £1,500 plus any wages that's been incurred. But as long as it is through no fault of the employer, if there is any specific instances that have happened that as you don't want that young person there, then we will have to speak to the DWP on a case-by-case basis. But if they just stop coming, they switch off their phone and they just don't answer in, then you wouldn't have to pay any monies back. And what they would do is replace that person with some more referrals. Okay, yes, again, those who have applied 6 weeks ago, as I have already mentioned, we are still eagerly anticipating those approvals to come through. We cannot push all we can do is wait, basically. As I said, it is a very new initiative. So no doubt as the year goes on, because it's open till December 2021, they will become more efficient, and that delay won't be as long. I think the West Midlands were talking, they were hoping to get it down to a 2-week approval time, but again, we're not in that position yet, and some of you may be here that have applied 6, 3, 4 weeks ago. So we will be in touch as soon as we'd heard anything. I can't wait to be getting on the phone to tell you all your vacancies have been approved. What if they leave after a short while? Again, Christine, I think I may have just already answered that one. But again, if it's through no fault of your own as the employer, then there will be no repayments back of the £1,500 or the wages. They would obviously just see then if you wanted to replace that young person with somebody else. Volume has gone. Hopefully the volume hasn't gone for everybody. I'm not sure what's happened. Cheryl, if there is any issues, I can try and send you the presentations afterwards. We can go back on at a later date and watch the webinar again. Thank you very much, Jack. How long will it take to get a Kickstarter started from the time of approval? Again, the referral process, it just means how the DWP will have to refer everybody. Again, I would say advertise yourselves to make sure that the word is getting out there to the people within your local area that you have got Kickstart vacancies. I can't answer specifically, but I know the DWP really want this initiative to work. They will be, no doubt, have targets on how many referrals they've got to do per day, per week. So I don't know is the answer. Hopefully there's 46,000 people just alone in the West Midlands, and I can quote these stats because I said it was on a webinar the other day, that are now sitting on universal credit claimant benefits. So they are, loads of people have lost jobs, loads of people have left school, yes, left university, left A-levels, and there is no jobs out there for them. So hopefully the interest of people will be phenomenal, and it won't be a long process for the actual Kickstarters to start. Is it open to apply until December 2021, or does the placement need to start by, right? So yes, Louise, the last placements will start in December 2021. So the overall scheme will finish around May, June time of 2022. I think I've got another one here. So if you provide the employability training, do we as an employer have to pay the worker for the time they are being trained as well as working time? So John, you are not paid their wages anyway, because the 6 months wages are going to be paid for by obviously the government and the DWP. If you ask them to work over that 25 hours, then obviously you would pay the difference. Whilst the employability packages obviously can be as part of the 25 hours, there is news of an extra day that we can work with them outside of the 25 hours per week that we could be conducting the employability training also. Do you provide templates for the support side of things? Yes, we will obviously help out with the support side of things, and we will have, obviously, as the gateway provider, be checked on the quality of the employability that is being conducted either by ourselves or by yourselves as the employers. So we will need to make sure that the templates obviously are suitable. So again, once we've had your selected options, we will then obviously have those conversations with you about what's in place, what have you got in place, and does it suffice, basically. Do we need to promise a job at the end of the 6-month period? No, there is no obligation to offer a job. In an ideal world, you will have jobs available for them if you have put 6 months' time and effort into training, developing and upskilling that young person, that hopefully there is a job there for them at the end. But again, the whole point of the scheme is asking employers to create work experience placements. So you're bettering the chances. If you can't offer them a job, then you've bettered their chances of securing employment for the future. Okay, any more coming through? Okay. Again, if anybody's got any further questions, obviously we'll hang on for probably one more minute just to see if anybody's got any more questions to add. If not, obviously you can message me at a later date and we will get back to you. Okay. Okay. Are we able to have another person after the first person has completed? Absolutely, yes. They are encouraging you to do so. Again, opening up that opportunity you have created to more people. Sorry. Hi, is there a recording of this? Hi there, ADAS. You can actually click on the link after it's ended, and you can re-watch the webinar. So I hope that's okay for you. Thank you. Complete the form. Yep. As on HS2, meet the contractor webinars all day. Oh yeah, sorry. We kind of spend our life on webinars these days, can't we? These current circumstances. Brilliant. Okay. So yes, please feel free, as I said, to send any further questions over to us. I thank you very much for all your time this afternoon. Hopefully we've at least we've touched base with you all. As I said, it's hard to get around the volume of employers that we have got to make individual calls, just to say, obviously, thank you, we received your application. But again, we do like to kind of keep running these regular webinars throughout the delay of waiting for the approvals, to touch base, to communicate with any updates with you. And just to give you that confidence that Pathway Group are, again, just waiting on these approvals to come through. And obviously, we're here to support you through the whole process. Yeah, please follow us on LinkedIn. Please follow us on Facebook. Any updates, any guidance we get, obviously, will be put out on those social media platforms also. So thank you very much. And I'm going to say a goodbye to you all. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and week. And we will be in touch soon once we've received all of your Gateway Services forms. Thank you very much, all. Take care. Bye-bye.